Hi there. Recently there was a bug report posted about splitters not acting properly, which actually wasn't a bug. It's just a strange feature that splitters have that a lot of people probably don't know about. I've played the game an awful long time and I didn't know it either. So that was discussed, and XKnight in the Factorio forums thought of a way to use this feature to sort materials using only splitters. But it's very hard to explain to people who just see the finished product why it works. So I decided to try to make this quick little video just to save time and hopefully make it more clear to people. So the feature that splitters have, if you don't know, is you would think as you drop items in the left side of this belt that they would just go to the right side and then the left side and go back and forth. That's true when you have a single item, and then it works the way you might intuitively expect. But actually, splitters store a state per item type. So actually, it alternates back and forth individually each different type of item, but not just every single item that comes in. So to demonstrate this, I've got 6 different items on the belt here, different colors, and hopefully easy to tell apart. Now, if I go ahead and run them through the splitters, what you're going to see happen is they all go to one side, and now they're all going to go to the other side. Okay, so keep this in mind with splitters. If you're just running, copper plate, the copper plate will go back and forth on the 2 belts. But if you're running multiple things, each individual item will go back and forth, not just all the items combined. So XKnight, who I don't know, but I'm a big fan of now, came up with an idea using this. One other quick thing, in case you don't know, if you side load into an underground belt, only the side that's next to the open belt face will actually go through. The other side will be blocked by the metal enclosure part. So basically you can see, you can get one side of a belt only using this. And then of course, these alternate per item type. So now if you combine these ideas and you come down here, I will zoom out a little bit, you come up with this. So what's going to be happening here, I'll explain it first and then I'll show you. We're going to feed in a mixed belt of copper and iron plate that is all mixed together. You might use something like this to sort out ores or, whatever. We're going to bring it into the belt, and then we're going to feed it into this little contraption. So what's happening here is we've got an inner loop right now that's full of iron plate. The inner loop has to be faster than the input coming in. So in this map, I don't have any blue stuff made, so I'm using red and yellow, but you could also use red and blue. So you'll see this blue belt is going to feed in material at a certain speed, but this little inner loop is faster. Now, the way you keep the plates running on this inner loop without coming off is that you're unloading the splitter on the top into an underground belt, so only the top part of the belt can exit and continue. The bottom half, which we're not going to use because this technique can only work on a half of a belt at a time, is reserved just for this inner loop of iron plate. And in the same way, the exit of this top splitter here, the bottom part will jam against this underground opening. So it will just go down to the bottom, and it just prevents it from looping back in and causing unnecessary delays. So because the red splitter here has iron plate coming in faster than iron plate would come in on the top, it's always going to give priority to send the iron plate away out the top half of the splitter, because the bottom half is already sent iron plate out. And because it's coming in and going out faster, what's going to happen is every time the splitter sees a new piece of iron come in, it'll look and say, well, where did I most recently send one out? Well, the bottom half. So now the new one that comes in from the top belt can only go out the splitter on the top half. So what's going to happen here is all iron will just pass through. Copper will alternate coming out the bottom half or passing through on the top half. And then the copper that comes out the bottom half will then go down this line here. So then we still have a mixed belt coming to the second step. And again, same situation happens here. The copper plate is forcing all the copper to go up, whereas the iron will split up and down, and then iron plate will only come out the bottom. So a couple of tips on this just from testing and debugging. First of all, you can't run the input line directly into this line above. because if you do that, it'll end up backing up, and I'll show you what would happen. But it'll break it if you do that. You have to. That'll be more clear to show once it's actually running. So let's go ahead and put this down. All right, so here's our mixed goods coming in. You'll see only copper coming out this side, only iron coming out this side, and some amount of product is still just looping back at the top. So what I was explaining before is, if you're side loading this here, because of the way side loading works, the priority would be given to new material coming in, and the items on this feedback loop would stop right here and wait. If that happens, eventually it'll stop all the way back around to here, and then it'll jam up into here. And if this loop stops, it'll start outputting the wrong things on these belts at the bottom. So to make sure that this never overflows incorrectly, you have to make sure that all three of these loops run forever, which is the two internal loops and then the feedback loop. So what you do is, if the feedback loop's full, you don't want more new material coming in. So that's why you feed the new material line and then you side load it on the inside. Because when you're side loading, the stuff already in the belt always has priority over the stuff that's coming in from the side loader. And this will prevent the feedback loop from jamming, which will keep the whole machine running. So let's say now we take all this copper off the line. And I'll just stand here picking this up for a little bit. Okay. So what will happen is we'll keep pulling copper off. You'll see the backed up iron is not overflowing to the left side. Now it's going to get slower and slower for copper to come out because there's more and more iron wasting time on the line up here. But you can see that if we just keep pulling this off more and more, eventually the iron will get to the point that it has the entire loop completely solidly backed up, but that doesn't cause a problem. It's just that whatever copper does make it in here will eventually make it out this left side. It'll never go to the right side. So now if we go ahead and sweep up some of this iron just to clean things out a little bit, then a bunch of this iron now will start to make it out the bottom, and as new material comes in, it'll be coming out on both sides equally, or based on the input. So in a nutshell, that's basically it. One other thing to show you, if you're setting one of these up for the first time, or just want to test around with it yourself or whatever, let me clear this off. Okay, so when you set this up for the first time, you have to have these little inner loops of the item that you want to not have. Now you could have, say, 10 things on this belt, and you can only block, using this technique, you only can block out one at a time. So if you were going to, say, sort out all of Bob's ores, you would say, okay, well, put iron ore here, and then we're going to get at the bottom is everything without iron ore. And then you just have to do multiple steps to filter it down and eventually get to where you can have each of your ores on separate lines. But to populate this loop, I'm going to pick up all this iron off the loop. It takes about 15 items in a 2x3 loop like this that's hitting a dead end there. If there's not enough items in that loop, then it's possible that the item will come in the top, and the most recent exit was on the top and not the bottom, so we would send it out on the bottom. And then that means you would end up with the wrong item on the copper line. You'd end up with an iron plate down there. So you want to do is you want to make it as tight a loop as you can, but if you fill it up too far so it stops running, then that also won't do any good, and that will also break things. So what you do is, once you set this up, you drop 15, maybe 16 items. So there's 4, 4, 4, and I'll put 3 more down. Now you see it's actually, might be hard to see in this video, but it's running kind of slow. So I'm going to switch it down and just put 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So we can just watch it for a moment and see visually. If you can see a gap at all, then drop one more item. Otherwise, you're good to go. If you drop one too many, it might run slower, and you don't want that. If you drop 2 or 3 too many, it'll end up jamming and just completely stop, and then it won't function correctly. So basically, you want to look at 14, maybe 15, so that you have no visual gaps, and it's running at full speed. And that's pretty much it. So you can use this technique without any smart inserters to filter off whatever you need. It handles being completely backed up without overflowing incorrectly, and it's amazing. So XKnight gets the complete credit for this. And his thread is in the on the forums, and there's a thread on Reddit as well. I'll put those in the video description here, in case you want to peruse the history of where the discussions happened that led to this cool little trick. So I've seen some other people already using this to do other things with, but I hope if you come up with an interesting application of this, that you go ahead and share it on Reddit or share it on the Factorio forums and show it off, and let other people benefit from anything you discover. Have a great day, and thank you for watching this video. Goodbye.